sort of get people joining here. I know it's an early morning for some of you guys, especially over on the West Coast. But we're super excited. We've got. I'll wait just a little bit more before I introduce you. There we go. Now we've got somebody. Actually, let me check before I start introducing stuff. If you guys are here in the chat and you can see us and you can hear us, let me know. I've had some issues in the past, so I'll make sure that is all set before we start diving into stuff. Check. Yeah, let me know in the chat if you can hear us, and then like where you're from, where you're tuning in from, and all that stuff. Yes, someone says yes. Sweet. Okay. What's up, Nate? I can see you. Sweet. Okay, so we are here with the very famous Chris Grant. He is the master of all things online arbitrage, a big like Keepa guy, does lots of stuff with tactical arbitrage and all of that. And you see him in lots of other Amazon groups around Facebook. So we wanted to bring Chris in to sort of talk about where he thinks online arbitrage is headed in 2021, some strategies that he thinks people should be implementing. We're going to be talking about Keepa. I know we always get questions about people who either don't know how to use Keepa or they're like trying to do something like really, really advanced with Keepa and they're trying to see all those little tidbits that maybe they haven't picked up on yet. So we brought Clint to talk about all of that stuff and then talk about his new, it's called the Online Arbitrage Challenge that's coming out. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And I've got a special little discount for you guys who are signing up with that. So Chris, where do you think, like in 2021, big news that's happening with Amazon changes for this year, all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you pay attention to Amazon news, which for me, that is something, I don't know. I've got Google alerts set. I've got all kinds of things just so I make sure I don't miss anything. And there's been a ton of news. Of course, earnings came out recently and Amazon eclipsed. I mean, when I say eclipsed, I mean, they just smashed through the very first quarter of over $100 billion in sales on the platform. With like 142 billion. I mean, they just smashed it. And the really interesting thing to me is we've talked about it for months. Amazon and e-commerce has grown maybe 10 years in a year's time. And of course, that was pushed by a pandemic and everyone needing to stay home, et cetera. However, if you look at data from like the credit card companies, Visa and MasterCard, and I can't remember who came out with the study, but of all the customers who had never shopped online before, which was a surprising number, it was somewhere in the 20 to 30% range of these credit card customers had never shopped online, did it for the first time in 2020.
Wow.
60% of those same customers said, oh, well, now that I've kind of broken the seal, I'll definitely do this again. And there was this great awakening, if you will, that shopping online isn't dangerous. I'm not going to have my credit card information stolen every single time I try to buy online. The stuff shows up at my door and I don't have to go anywhere. So I don't think that we're necessarily, while the growth may retract a little bit because, once people are comfortable going back out, people are gonna be like, oh, well, I really want to go to the store. I want to get out. However, they also may just want to hang out in the backyard with their kids. And hopefully that is something that also stays from this pandemic. More board games, less TV, more throwing the football in the backyard with Timmy rather than, sending the kids to the mall and, taking your wife to Target and all that stuff. And if that's the case, we're going to see people continue to say, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to buy this on Amazon. I'm going to have it shipped to the house. Don't have to go anywhere. We can do other things instead of, dealing with all of that. Now, what that means for arbitrageurs is we've got an opportunity. We've got products that need to be filled. We've got Amazon shelves that need to be filled. And there's always going to be an opportunity for arbitrage. When I start off the OA challenge, I always talk about the history of arbitrage because about once a year or so, you hear people say, well, arbitrage is dead, it's dying. You know, arbitrage has literally been around since the Sumerians.
Yep.
Arbitrage was written about in the Code of Hammurabi, and there are some rules about arbitrage in the Code of Hammurabi, along with all the other rules that are in there. So it's not going anywhere. Whether the platform changes, the skill to arbitrage products from one marketplace to another will never die. And I think that we're kind of in the right time and the right place to be able to capitalize on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's crazy, just the numbers, like what the pandemic sort of brought to Amazon businesses as far as like new customers and the amount of sales flowing through Amazon now. It's absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So yeah, so as far as like strategies, like ways that people can sort of take advantage of either new things that are happening or just do things better for 2021 regarding online arbitrage, what are some like general tips that you would have for people?
So one of the things that I would suggest is, first of all, always know what's trending. Always keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the world. Okay, so there are a lot of people who were able to take advantage of puzzles. And there are a lot of people that were able to take advantage of, this was a big one for us, sidewalk chalk. Yep. Sidewalk chalk was going for $2.97 at the store, and you're able to sell it for pretty daggone close to $40 a pop on Amazon. So that is something that's never going to go away, but we are going to go through cycles where you can get these quick wins really, really quickly. And sometimes they're going to happen more frequently than other times. Okay. Another thing you need to do is keep a finger on the pulse of what Amazon wants from us as sellers. So in my last week's, I do a Friday show like every Friday morning. Mm-hmm. And on last week's show, I talked about how Amazon is expanding their new to Amazon program. So Amazon obviously wants us to bring new listings to the catalog. And if you're doing it right, you're going to be rewarded. You're going, if you do the right keywords, you create the right listings using data, you're going to get eyeballs on those listings and hopefully own those listings yourself, at least for a while. And then the other thing is BOPUS. Okay, if you aren't sure what BOPUS is buy online, pick up in store. Mm-hmm. This has grown by leaps and bounds over this past year. And something Chris Green and I, if you don't know who Chris Green is, so I'm not Chris Grant from Full Time FBA. That's Stephen Smotherman. He's another incredible guy. Something Chris Green and I have done a few videos on and talked about is the opportunity for Amazon sellers to be able to do online arbitrage at your desk, find profitable products, go pick them up in store, or heck, at Target, I can literally drive my truck up. They will throw the stuff in my window and tell me to get the heck out of there. And then I have the opportunity, possibly in the very same day, to get things to market and be able to overcome maybe the price tank that's going to come and be able to get those things sold while they're really, really hot. Now that's not a strategy I think that everyone should necessarily have as the backbone of their online arbitrage business. You don't want to always just be chasing the hot products. You do want to have some foundation of products that you can buy over and over again. But it's an easy way to be able to hit something that's hot really quickly and then turn that money into kind of a longer term play later on.
Exactly. Yeah, I tell a lot of our coaching students that all the time. Like, you want to build a foundation so that your business is like continually growing and you sort of have that baseline of sales. but spend some time sort of chasing those unicorns, chasing the sidewalk chalk, chasing the inflatable pools was another big one, or weights. Like there's all these things that like during the pandemic were just insane, because those are the things that are gonna like spike your sales up, and then you can have a new baseline. So maybe your normal is like 10K, 20K a month, and then all of a sudden you do 60K a month. Well, you're not going to continue to do 60K, but maybe now your new baseline is like 40K a month. And so you can use those big spikes to really generate a lot of capital for your business.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Sorry, I was just reading some of the questions.
Yeah, is it considered OA to buy and sell domain names? That's sort of, sure. That's a different kind of arbitrage than what we're talking about, but yeah, that's a form of arbitrage. Arbitrage is just buying something cheap from point A and selling it for more at point B. Mm-hmm. That's all that arbitrage is.
Sorry, I wanted to see if there are any questions over here. All right. So yeah, there's a ton of opportunity I mean, of course, we saw that in 2020. I don't think that opportunity is going to go away in 2021 or further than that. Yeah, we do see more sellers coming onto the platform, but we also see more buyers coming onto the platform. Another piece of news that came out was Amazon just passed there are two different numbers floating around. It's either 142 or 152 million Amazon Prime subscribers. Now, if you think about that, I think the average family is like 2.3 people. So if it is 150 million Prime subscribers, that's every single mailbox in the United States.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's crazy. And so, the opportunity isn't going anywhere as long as you have the fundamentals down of how to source products and sell products. That's something that can be scaled quite a ways.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree. This is a great question. I'll post it up here. What was the biggest red flag to watch for when you're looking at like new products that are booming, like the sidewalk chalk or whatever?
Well, the red flag to find them. So I guess I take this question a couple of ways. The red flag to find them and the red flag of when I need to stop buying. Okay. So the red flag to buy them is honestly, you just need to watch for kind of what's going viral. And if you scroll through Google News or use, wherever you get your news at, and you see, news stories that are heartwarming. Okay. You want to see the news stories that are opposite of what you normally read. I tend to think that those kind of products are going to end up being more likely to get hot. Okay. The sidewalk chalk story was a heartwarming story about some young girls who wanted to put out nice messages to first responders and frontline workers at the beginning of a pandemic. And that touched a bunch of people, and then everyone wanted to do the same thing. All right. The pools. Well, the pools we're stuck at home. It's summertime. What are we going to do with our kids? Oh, well, we can't go to the public swimming pool. So let's everybody get a swimming pool for our own backyard because they're super simple to set up and they're really not that expensive. So look for those kind of things. Look for viral videos. Many years ago, you'll remember, or some of you will remember that there was a lady who put on a Chewbacca mask, and it cracked her up, and she took a video of it. She put it up on YouTube, and it just made everybody smile. Well, I was buying those Chewbacca masks for $39.99 and selling them for pretty close to $200 at its peak. Okay. So look for those kinds of things, and they happen pretty frequently. Now, the red flags to watch for when to get out of the product. Well, what you're going to notice is on Keepa, you're going to notice a very clear correlation between supply and demand and what that's going to do to the price. So as the supply absolutely skyrockets, you kind of have to be a day trader and figure out, well, where am I going to sell so that I don't lose, my shirt? And sometimes you just have to guess. It gets a little bit easier as you kind of grow your gut instinct. But once you start seeing prices decline while the supply continues to go up, it's time to get rid of things, because as the prices start to dip and the supply is still increasing, well, that's not going to get better anytime soon. All right. And so that was that question. And then there was another great grocery question, I think. So with the vaccine coming soon, do you think the surge of grocery items will continue, or will more people start to go back to retail brick and mortar? That's a great question, and I wish I knew the answer for sure, but I see a couple of things. Number one, during this pandemic, and I actually did this before the pandemic, but I have been really spoiled in the fact that I can go to Amazon, Publix, and Walmart. I have a membership at Walmart. I have a membership at Amazon. Publix, I use, I don't know, some whatever delivery company they use. But anything I need for the week, okay, I can have it delivered by the end of the day. Why would I go to the grocery store? So for arbitrageurs, this is the way I want you to think, okay? But figure out what kind of revenue you're making, and then divide that by how many hours you're working. Now, I know what my number is, okay? Down to almost the penny based on last year's top line revenue. Now, this is gonna sound a little braggy, but it's not. But my time, your time, Nathan's time is not worth going to the grocery store, okay? And there are a lot of people who also think that way. And those people aren't going to go back to the grocery store because they realize that someone else can do it, okay? Someone who wants to make money, needs to make money, can bring the items to them, and you can focus on things that make you money.
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of people who are probably still going to be afraid to go out. There are immunocompromised people. There are people who, are incredibly worried about getting sick, and they're going to stay home a lot longer than maybe everyone else. And they're going to need things delivered. And then you're going to have a third category of people who have just realized that, well, this is a heck of a lot easier. I'll tell a story about some millennial friends I have. They might even, I don't even know what the next generation after millennials is. I don't know, but
Gen Z, I think.
Gen Z. I think they're Gen Z. Okay. Uh-huh. They don't go to the grocery store. They have everything delivered because they can literally do it on their phone in between scrolling TikTok videos. So why give up the TikTok addiction when I can just have the things delivered to me? And so you're going to see a lot of that continue to happen. Matter of fact, Amazon, in another piece of news, Amazon is the most liked grocery store in the country. They overtook Trader Joe's and H-E-B.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So I don't see any of that changing anytime soon.
Yep. Yeah, I don't. I think it's been at least 12 months since either myself or my wife have actually gone to the grocery store for like regular grocery shopping. We'll go there for other things, maybe sourcing or getting something else. But as far as just like, hey, we need meat and cheese and this and that, and like we just order it all online, get it delivered.
Yeah, I went to the grocery store the other day. We were running a couple errands. We stopped. I immediately regretted it.
Yep. Yeah, I sometimes feel like I'm not wearing enough pajamas to step foot into Walmart.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. So, Chris, can you sort of talk a little bit about your upcoming your OA challenge, sort of what that is, who it's sort of geared for, what sort of stuff can people expect from it, and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the OA challenge, we do a 14-day live OA challenge, and we try to go over every aspect that we can. The hallmark, in my opinion, is our Keepa training. It is at least 2 days of Keepa training where we dive into absolutely every aspect that you can think of with Keepa, because I believe that Keepa is the most powerful and the most essential tool that Amazon sellers need. It allows us to make good decisions, and it does a lot more than that.
I agree.
Yeah, it's incredible. And a lot of people, we see the graphs, and maybe we do some tracking, with Keepa to know when a price drops or things like that. But that is literally just touching the surface. There's so much more that you can do. So we spend 2 full days on just that. We cover manual sourcing. Of course, we have to cover tactical arbitrage because it's such a large lever that you can pull in your business. We cover other tools that you can use. There are both free and paid tools that we cover. We have Q&A sessions because what typically happens is during the week, someone I answer every question. So we schedule for an hour to 90 minutes. Sometimes we've gone 2 hours. Sometimes we've gone 2 hours and 15 minutes for several days straight. And we make sure every question is answered. However, there's always more. So we have some Q&As in there. We've built in ungating guides to help people get ungated in several categories, some of them really high value categories. And then we've got free extensions like Rev ROI and OA Highlight. You get this 400-page monster of a book by the OG of all things Amazon, Chris Green, delivered to your doorstep. And we even have medals for everybody who finishes. We actually will mail you out a nice shiny medal that you can wear around. So it's been incredible. But like I said, Keepa is probably the hallmark of the training. I had someone say that after the Keepa training, he felt like he got the game genie to Keepa, which is my absolute favorite.
Yeah, I remember reading Ethan Nagun, or I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but a big time seller.
Yeah,
for a while. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember him just going on and on and on about how fantastic the Keepa section of it was. He's like, I know, like I've been a seller for years and years and years, but man, that Keepa stuff was just completely mind blowing, completely revolutionized how I use that. And he's been a seller for years.
Yeah, absolutely my favorite part of the training.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, like you're talking all about manual sourcing and stuff like that. So you don't have to have these big expensive tools. Like, yes, tactical arbitrage is a fantastic tool. The way I sort of describe it to members, though, is it's sort of like a forklift or a crane. And if I tell you to build one treehouse, you probably shouldn't go out and buy a forklift to build one treehouse. You should just buy a hammer and nails. But if I tell you to buy build 1,000 treehouses, yeah, you should probably buy a crane and a forklift and all that stuff. And that's sort of what tactical arbitrage is. It's by far the standard for big time sellers. But I love that you include like that manual sourcing for people that maybe don't have the budget for TA, or they're not at a space where they can utilize that to its full extent. So yeah, that's super cool.
Manual sourcing is incredibly important, even if you're using tactical arbitrage.
Yes.
If you're a lead list user, if you're a tactical arbitrage user, you should absolutely still be doing manual sourcing, because you're going to be able to find things that it's just not possible. It's just not possible to find. And so manual sourcing is really, really powerful. We teach both the way to source kind of front ways, and then we teach a reverse sourcing method during the challenge. And someone says they enrolled in the 14-day challenge and never got the book and the shirt. Well, there was never a shirt. There was a medal. But if you message me, just message me on Facebook. I believe I'm in the group. You can find me. Message me your address, and I'll send you out a book and a medal today. I don't mind doing that.
And then someone else was asking if it's available for people with 9-to-5 jobs, and yes, absolutely. It's all recorded, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So we do a couple of things. It starts at 6 p.m. Eastern every single day, and we are live. Okay, it's live. That way I can go into the training, and then I can answer your questions in real time. So hopefully you're home by then, and you can eat dinner in front of the computer for 14 days. But for anybody who might miss it, well, the training it's recorded on Facebook, just like this is, in a private group, and you can watch it at any time. The information's never taken down; it's always yours. So you can come back to it later and all of that stuff. And then the other thing that we do is I've got a Google Sheet. So if we've had people from Israel and Australia and the Spain and UK and all over the world take this. So if they're watching it, at a time when I'm sleeping, well, we've got a Google form where you can go and put in your questions, and then I make sure to get those answered either on the next day or during one of our Q&A sessions. We have a couple of catch-up days built right in. One of them is going to be Valentine's Day this year because I don't want you guys to be in trouble with your significant other. But on that day, I will probably end up going live for a little while with the blessing of my wife to answer some of those questions, and we call them like 90 questions in 90 minutes.
Love it. Someone's talking about they'd rather take that than go to high school. We've got a number of high school students in Hustle Buddies that are killing it. Yeah, I wish more business stuff was taught in mainstream education.
I hear that. Yeah, my son learns every day because money is a big thing for him. He wants a gaming system. He wants to be a YouTuber, and he wants to have a nice rig all set up. And he's like, "Well, Daddy, how do I earn money?" And we hammer home here at the house. Well, solve people's problems and you'll earn money. And yep. So I'm hopefully going to instill that in him as he grows up.
Yeah, if you can help other people in some way or even help them make money, then they'll just throw money at you. Yep. All right. So as part of the Hustle Buddies side of this, we wanted to throw in something a little bit extra. I know many of you guys have taken our Replen stuff, and we have our own Replen workshop that's coming out in about a month. It'll be at the end of this month, which is when we're doing sort of like our Replen workshop, which is a weekend event. I know there's a lot of people who are like, man, I really want the OA workshop and I really want the Replen thing. I don't know which one to get. They're very complementary, and they're not necessarily competing with each other on the data. Yeah, sure, there's some crossover. We'll both talk about Keepa, stuff like that. But they are very complementary. And so the idea that I had was, how can I help people who are they're wanting to sign up for this, but they're like, man, but I really wanted this Replen thing that's coming out, and I don't know if I can afford both. So what we did as part of our little link, and I'll post this again in the chat. So we linked to Chris's OA challenge. When you go through that link during the thank you page, or I forget exactly which page it is in the shopping cart, but there should be a link that then takes you to the Replen workshop. And we've actually made a 20% discount for the Replen workshop, which is a fairly sizable chunk of money. So we've made a 20% discount for anyone who signs up for the OA challenge. If they then also want to sign up for the Replen workshop, they'll get the Replen workshop for 20% off, which saves a lot of money. And it's hopefully should sort of balance out trying to figure out which one you want to buy, and it'll help you with that decision.
Awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we wanted to throw that in.
So there's a couple of questions I'd love to hit here.
Yeah,
one of them is from Anthony. So as you start to scale, how do you get around purchase limits from retailers, or is the general tactic to just find more products? So there are two things in this question that need answered. Number one, yes, you'll want to find more products. Okay. And the night we start the OA challenge, I'm going to lay out some very specific math that I've even had a $1 million seller say that math just kind of changed my whole outlook on my business for me. Okay. And so we're gonna lay that out. But here's the thing about getting limited from stores. It's going to happen at some places no matter what. I've been kicked off of a couple of makeup websites, and there's just nothing I can do about it. But the one you hear about most often is, oh, well, I'm going to get kicked off Target. I'm going to get kicked off Target. Well, I can tell you that I've ordered over 1,000 units of one product on Target before. Okay. Now it was over the course of a couple of months. It was a short-term Replen for us, and we ordered the max that we could, 5 different orders, 2 days a week for several months. Okay. It equated to probably 1,100 or so units. Never got kicked off, never got limited or anything. The reason people often get kicked off of places like Target is because you're trying to buy 300 video games that are buy one, get one free, plus a 20% off discount. Target doesn't want to bleed money, just like nobody else wants to bleed money. Some of the other things you can do is there are some other things you can do, but also call. Be nice to the people in the chat and with customer service. Nancy at the fraud department at Walgreens is a super nice lady. I have to talk to her on a regular basis. Okay, so don't be so afraid. Plus, the other thing is there are literally thousands of places to source from. Everyone thinks Target, everyone thinks Walmart. That's low-hanging fruit. It's easy for us to talk about because it's not necessarily giving away someone's honey hole. But there are literally, I think the last time I checked, there's at least 40,000 Shopify stores. Some of them are very good to shop from. And then you've got all these other stores that are, hosted in different places that are more mainstream, and they're fine to shop from as well. And then the other question was, does this course offer a money-back guarantee? So I don't sell anything without a money-back guarantee. I wouldn't feel right. If it's not for you, it's not for you, and I don't want there to be bad blood. So we have a 7-day money-back guarantee. And if you want your money back, you don't have to give me a reason. You just say it's not for me. I'll refund your money, because if it's not for you, I don't need it. Okay. Now, as for being gated, so here's the thing. Everybody who is new or newer, or even people who've been around for a long time, I'm gated. Being ungated is not a magic bullet for a successful business. You are probably ungated in a lot more than you think. There are a lot of categories like home and kitchen and other things where you're going to be able to sell products. And it may feel like you're gated and everything, but with over 350 million products just tracked by Keepa, there are some products that you can sell, and you can sell profitably no matter what. But we also have multiple ungating guides. I'm trying to put the finishing touches on another one for another category before this challenge gets started on Monday. So if you follow the guides, you'll get ungated.
I love it. You guys are keeping me on my toes. You're good competition to have. You make me do stuff better.
So I've seen this question a couple of times, and so I don't want to have people think that I'm ignoring it. What do I think of Source Mogul? So it's good to have competition out there. Okay, I'm not the owner of Tactical Arbitrage, or anything like that. So competition is good. All right. However, if I am used to driving a Mercedes, I'm never going to really enjoy driving a Hyundai again. Okay. So once you get behind the wheel of Tactical Arbitrage, it's most likely that you're never going to go back.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm also, I can have an affiliate with anyone. I choose where and what products I push out, and there's a reason that I choose Tactical Arbitrage. For me, it feels like the golden standard of OA sellers doing this at a large degree. Yeah, there are competitions. There is things like Source Mogul. There's a couple other sites that are similar. I think X-Ray something. But really, I've tried things out, and so far nothing comes close to, in my opinion, to Tactical Arbitrage. So if you want to use them, great. There might be some budget options or some discount options, but the gold standard that basically every 7-figure plus OA seller that I know uses, it's always Tactical Arbitrage, and that's why we work with them.
Let's see here. So Alex asks a question here. So when doing OA and groceries for FBA, how do you deal with expiration dates of groceries delivered to your door? There's no way to know if the item will be delivered within Amazon expiration. You're absolutely right. So there are a couple of things you can do. One, try to stick to items that have longer shelf lives. Okay, a cake mix is going to be able to sit on a shelf a heck of a lot longer than
Lady Gaga Oreos.
There you go. That's a perfect example. So I would probably not buy Lady Gaga Oreos to be delivered to my door. Okay. Those would be something that I'd need to BOPUS or buy online and pick up in store if you could get your hands on them. All right. So stick to those things that last longer. What have you had in your pantry for 6 months and you could still go eat it? Look for those kind of items and items similar to it. Okay. And then if something is too close, there are two things you can do with it. One, you can return it. I don't suggest you making a habit of that. Or two, you can eat it. Or three, you could give it to somebody who might need it. There's plenty of women's shelters and food pantries and things like that that would be more than happy to take your discards. And I can guarantee that one, the tax break that you'll get is still good, and two, it'll make you feel good, and three, it won't make you look bad in the eyes of the retailer.
Yep.
And it doesn't happen as often as you might think.
Yeah. And a side note about that, for anyone else who has like a giant death pile, this is completely unrelated to anything, but if you have a giant death pile of stuff, whether it's food or, I know like we always have a death pile of bras going on. We actually have been working with a foster care closet. So it's a place that foster parents can go and just pick up stuff for free because placements go in and out all the time. So we're working with a lady who does that. If anybody has a huge deth pile that they're like, I don't know how to get rid of this or where to send it, shoot me a message and I'll send you her contact info.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it seems like there's a follow-up to this tactical arbitrage question. It says, thanks for the answer, but isn't tactical arbitrage much more flooded? So here's the thing. Tactical arbitrage has hundreds of more sites than that other software, okay? And tactical arbitrage also has live scanning. So, and tactical arbitrage has the ability for you to add your own sites that nobody else has access to. And sorry if you can hear my dogs in the background, guys. The lawnmowers are here, and of course that means my dogs must gear for war. So tactical arbitrage, is it flooded? No. There are places for people to fish where there are not a lot of other fishermen. All right. Now it's up to you to find those places. All right. You're not going, you're going to hear about people talking about Target and Walmart and Kohl's and all these other places. But there's literally like 400 other sites in the U.S. you can source from. Throw a dart and go source it.
And to piggyback off of that, like TA being flooded versus another thing not being flooded, I'm going to sort of piggyback off of the analogy you used. Like there's plenty of places to fish. You're fishing in the same place. TA is more the fishing pole, and the other programs are like the fishing pole. So a site being flooded, it's like, oh, well, a lot of people use that fishing pole, so I'm not going to use it. That doesn't really make sense. A lot of people use that fishing pole because it's the best fishing pole to use in that lake. It's the same data. It's or I guess similar data being pulled from everywhere. So one site having more users or less users than another site doesn't really affect the effectiveness of that site because it's not. You're still competing with everybody. Like things that you're finding with Source Mogul are going to be the same things that you're finding with TA and vice versa. So I would recommend use the better tool because you're still fishing in the same pond.
And if I could continue with this fishing analogy. So what my job is to teach you the proper casting technique. Okay. And after the OA challenge and things like that, you'll know the proper casting technique to be able to hook more fish.
Yep, love it. So, are we going fishing after this, Chris?
Might as well, man. It's warming back up here in Florida.
Oh, I'm so jealous. We picked the wrong time to buy a house up north.
How much time per day do you need for the 14-day OA challenge? All right, so. Here's what I tell everybody, and it might be a little bit of a white lie, but you need an hour, okay? That is going to be the minimum amount of time that we're going to spend together. But if I'm being completely honest, we're probably going to be 90 to 120 minutes per day. There are catch-up days, okay? There are 2 catch-up days built in. One of them will be Valentine's Day, so if you are romancing your sweetheart, that's fine, and you can't spend it catching up, no big deal. There will be one other one. But yeah, I would say that you need an hour to 2 hours every single day for the 14 days. Now, if you can't do that, I understand, but the content is yours. I'm never going to rip that content away from you. It stays housed in a Facebook group in the unit section, and you can come back to it at any time you please. I do make it so that nobody can add more comments or anything like that after 2 or 3 weeks when comments start dying down anyway. But the content is always there for you. I would never take it away after you've paid for it.
Love it. Let me see. Any other big questions? What do you think of this? Tracking email orders not showing up, tracking online invoices, accounts, passwords, all of that stuff. Do you have any recommendations for that?
So how do you keep track of email? Well, there's a couple of ways. If it's receipts in my email, well, I just have a folder system. I keep it simple. Okay, Gmail is incredibly powerful. Their search feature is incredibly powerful, and so I just keep just a straight folder system right in my email. If you mean sales emails, well, I built a nifty free little tool called salesgazer.com. With the help of a very smart friend of mine, where you can go and you can learn, or you can have all the sales emails clog that inbox that's searchable rather than clog any of your own personal emails, and that costs you nothing.
Yeah, we use SalesGazer all the time.
Yeah. For orders not showing up, you could get fancy and all of that stuff, but I use a Google Sheet, which I actually give to everybody to track your orders. When an order comes in, I highlight it green. When I'm like, hey, what the heck is going on with this? This probably should have been here by now. It gets highlighted in yellow. When it doesn't show up and I need to reach out and it's been 2 weeks or a month or whatever, it gets highlighted in red. And then eventually I go back and I action all the reds. Okay. So it doesn't need to be hard. Tracking your online invoices, like I said, I just use Gmail. If you want, you could also use inside, so you could print them off digitally into PDFs and save them into something like a cloud folder, like Google Drive or something. For my stack of retail or buy online, pick up in store receipts, those get scanned and they are put into a folder by month and year. And that in that month and year, each store has their own folder. So 2021 has a folder, and then there's a subfolder for January, and then under that, there's a subfolder for Walgreens and Target and Walmart and all these other stores. Accounts and passwords. Sorry, this was a big question. Accounts and passwords, I use LastPass. LastPass allows you to save all of them. You remember one password. Everything goes in there. I can share my password. I could share my password to something with Nathan. I could remove his access from that password. I could change passwords. I can have them come up with 72-digit multi-character passwords for me, all kinds of stuff.
And that's super, super, super useful when you start getting into hiring virtual assistants. Being able to share like a pseudo password that works for some things, and then you can revoke that access is huge. So if you're getting into hiring virtual assistants, something like LastPass is awesome. Mm-hmm. I saw this question. We sort of touched on it a little bit. I'll sort of share some of my opinions about this. Maybe you can share some of yours as well. So this person's talking about how like programmers or more advanced high large scale OA people can automate a lot more. They can write programs. They can do all that stuff. And is that a concern for the smaller seller? What I love about Amazon is that there is a space for everyone. And not everyone is profitable doing everything. So what I mean by that, let's say Walgreens in-store clearance, okay? Let's put yourself in a mind space that you are a 7 or 8 figure seller. Do you want to drive into, because you can't order that stuff online, do you want to drive into Walgreens to look at their little like 2x4 shelf that has maybe 20 items on it and pick out the 3 or 4 things that are profitable? Probably not. So that 7 or 8 figure seller isn't going to do that. There are things that small sellers can do that large sellers don't do, not because it's not profitable, but because it's harder to do at scale. And so there's this sort of like, what holes are there in the market and how can you fit into it? So as a small seller, yeah, absolutely. Pick up those 5, 10, 15 items because that's great for you. That's the spot that you're at. And as you grow, you can sort of grow past that, not because this little clearance shelf is bad, but just because it's harder to do that at scale. So there's a different thing for different places. Specific to online arbitrage, I would argue that that whole like manual sourcing that we mentioned earlier, Chris, that's sort of the key. I remember it was the Christmas of 2019. There was a toy that I found using tactical arbitrage. It's like, oh, okay, this looks good. It was maybe like 30-40% ROI, 10-20 bucks profit on each one. It's like, all right, yeah, I'll get some of those. I was like, I wonder if there's other variations. So then I did my own digging. Tactical arbitrage only showed me that one. But I did my own digging. I found other stores that this was at. I found other variations. I searched those variations by name. I did all of that manual sourcing that it's a little bit harder to automate or program something to do. It takes a little bit of a human element. It's sort of that human barrier to entry. Because I did that human barrier to entry, I made at least $50,000 just during Christmas from this one like toy run variation thing that I found. And it was because I put in that extra work. It's not something that I could have programmed. It's not something I could have, sort of outsourced, but it took that human element. It took my brain and thinking, oh, this would be good with that variation, or maybe there's a 2-pack or multi-pack of that. Maybe I could bundle it with it. Like it took those extra little thoughts, those extra barrier to entries that other people weren't willing to do. So it doesn't bother me like, oh, what if someone can automate this? Does that hurt the small seller? I feel like there's always going to be a space for that smaller seller to do what the larger seller isn't willing or isn't able to do.
Mm-hmm. And I have another take on it too. So I'm not a programmer. I couldn't program my way out of a paper bag, but I have built more software than most people. And it is, so ideas are a dime a dozen. And if we have an idea and we think of a way where it could be automated, chances are you can bring that to life a lot cheaper. And I'm not talking down about the programmer lifestyle or job or anything, but I can hire programmers for a reasonable price. The very first piece of software that I ever built cost me $35. And it still works to this day, and I've never had to do anything to it or have it fixed or anything. And so, if a seller does things manually for a while, and then eventually they do want to automate something that can be properly automated, that doesn't necessarily need a human to do it, even if it costs a couple $1,000s, but will make you $20, $30, $50, $100,000 over the next 5 years, you could probably build it if it doesn't already exist.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Awesome. All right. Any other last minute questions? I don't want to take up too much of your time. Let me see. Does the course work with RA?
We've talked about the buy online, pick up in store, but could you take the Keepa training and apply it to retail arbitrage? Absolutely. And you probably make better decisions than most of your other friends. Would you be able to, come up with shopping lists, doing online arbitrage and then go to the store and then pick them up all retail arbitrage? Sure. But we're not talking about, going into stores and scanning everything.
Yep. And then last big question that I've seen pop up a couple times, prep centers. Do you work with them on a daily basis? I do.
Yeah.
I run a lot of stuff through prep centers.
So here's the thing about going from, this being a side hustle or a part-time gig, or even it being a full-time job, is eventually you're going to run into a bottleneck. Okay. And you need to have the skill to identify what those bottlenecks are and then remove those bottlenecks. And for a lot of people, prep is a major bottleneck. Okay. Prep is, my friend Chris said, prep is one of those things where it's like the only place in this business that actually doesn't make you money. Buying items make you money. Selling items make you money. But prep is just a time suck. Okay. And so that can be outsourced to prep centers. It can be outsourced to in-house employees. There's all sorts of ways to be able to deal with that. And there's tons of really great prep centers out there.
Love it. Awesome. All right. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. We've been on here now almost an hour here, so we appreciate you coming in, Chris. Again, if you guys want to pick that up, I posted our link in chat. You can see the link down there. That is case sensitive, so if you're trying to type that in yourself, you do need to make sure like the H, B, O, A, C are all capitalized. But yeah, sign up for that. If you sign up for that, again, I'll give you 20% off of our Replen workshop that's coming out at the end of the month. Yeah, we appreciate you coming in, man. This has been great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Happy to do it.
Awesome. All right, hustle on, everybody. We'll see ya.